Welcome back to your favorite part of the week, the Clash of Clans recap. Things are getting straight up intense in split number 2 with huge stories and standing shakeups in both regions. So, in spite of what my producer thinks, I'm not wasting any time with some fancy schmancy intro this week. Let's just get straight into it. Our biggest story in NA this week is Loch.Ness's new team, Crash Esports. Joined by Danny, Captain Rocket, Level 69 Mars, and Trinket, this team entered the ladder with unbelievable ferocity. They even crashed into the second place team, Happy Endings 5.0, and the results may have been surprising to some. On Captain Rocket's attack, an early Archer Queen with healing support was able to clear the top of Tingy's base, allowing him to begin the siege in earnest. The base of Tingy could do little to hold off the heavy air attack crashing down, and Captain Rocket was able to put up a very convincing 100% win on the shoulders of that well-supported queen. Happy Endings looked comparatively weak on offense, only putting up a single 3-star despite having a roster that has battled the likes of War and Glory, No Chance Ice, and Fuzzy Wuzzy in the previous finals and only narrowly missed getting into the challenge. With less than a minute left in the attack, Michael Snipes committed to a final attack with air from nearly every angle. Unfortunately, time would be an issue as the attack ended joylessly with just 80% damage dealt to the base of Captain Rocket, who had just 3-starred him. Loch.Ness, who used to play for former finalist Volume 0, simply had too much momentum heading into his attack for the defender to stand a chance. Starting with just a humble wizard and electro owl, Loch.Ness slow played the top right attack until he committed an ice spell alongside balloons while the flame flinger up top just kept on going. But it turned out the Barbarian King, alongside other heroes, had survived long enough to strike at the core of the base and pick up a smooth victory over the number 2 team. This attack was enough to take Loch.Ness's team from off the map into 4th place on the Split 2 leaderboard. And after that swaggy attack, we just had to catch up with Loch.Ness to get his thoughts on the new squad, this season's base building meta, and of course, how he felt after taking such an important win.
I used to be on Volume 0. Yeah, so after the last Mobile Open season, we kind of parted ways. And the guys at Crash have just been friends of mine for a long time. I've known some of these guys for years, and we just decided to make an esports team. So that's how we became to be. Yeah, so it's not the greatest offensive show, but we did have some really good defensive, defense in that match. We had some really clutch triples as well. Coming down to the last minute, I think Captain Rocket really clutched that war for us. A lot of good builders are good at baiting attacks, like, having red bomb farms at the end of a Lalo, or even blimp fails, that kind of stuff. And sometimes they're just getting some pretty tricky bases. There's actually a little bit of a funny story. One of our guys, Trinket, he just came back from retirement and still had a base that I made from, it must have been 8 months ago, and he's still running that and it hasn't tripled yet. To take a close group of my friends to the Challenger phase would mean a lot to me. Shout out to all the guys on the Crash Esports team. So a lot of the guys on the Crash Esports team is not on the Mobile Open team. It's only me, Danny, and June. So Captain Rocket and Trinket are just coming back from retirement, and JPS and Mars are some of our close friends. Yeah, shout out to my dog. She's always really cute. So I wanted to give a shout out to June. He underwent surgery, so he's only playing with one hand right now, and he's still tripling even with one hand. So he's still a god.
Senpai! Notice me! Teach me your ways! Elsewhere on the ladder, there's also an epic story brewing nearer the bottom of top 9, with SFNL taking on War Thieves. Both teams are jockeying for those rankings to get invited to the Split 2 Open Finals. An early attack with rollers and support took Leonard to about 40% damage, at which point he committed a massive air attack. Choosing to attack the top of the base next proved to be a valuable strategy. With some well-placed spells, the Balloon Armada was able to overwhelm the base of Not Jordan from War Thieves, stealing away some precious stars. Not Jordan would then try to equalize the score by sending in a few balloons early in the battle. After assessing the situation, he then made the decision to go with dragons, swooping in from the bottom of the base in an attempt to secure the highest percentage possible to keep the war close. Unfortunately, the dragons were unable to avoid a plethora of spells and anti-air attacks, and thus the stalled attack would only become a 2-star victory, which would end up making quite a difference in this war. Loster then went on to attack the Demi, opening with a squadron of super dragons supported by healers and a few balloons. It almost seemed like the attack had stalled to the point of failure, as Loster crept past 50% damage with what appeared to be a tattered army. But the healer support most certainly carried the day, as just a handful of units fought onward towards that 3-star and the overall victory in this epic war. SFNL is now on the map. It just takes one glance at the standings to understand how impactful the Week 2 wars were. War and Glory is fighting tooth and nail to secure that automatic berth, eager to avoid taking on another finals bracket. Crash Esports came up out of nowhere, and Omnipotence wasn't so omnipotent this week as they got knocked down to 5th. And if these newcomer performances weren't exciting enough, we still got Flaming Turkeys! Now, before we move on to the Yermina recap, we're debuting a brand new segment on the show this week that we're calling Guess the Percent. Okay, the rules are simple. We've chosen an attack, and we'll show you guys the base and the attacker's chosen army, as well as the attacker's first major swing. Then we'll pause it, and we'll give you some time to consider the attacker's remaining units, as well as where the base's defenses are at. Then you guys have to guess how much percent you think the attacker will achieve. You can tweet your guesses at us using the hashtag #GuessThePercent. Then make sure to tune in next week, where we'll give you the results for this week, and we'll give you another puzzle for you to figure out. And pro players, no cheating. If we find out that you revealed your answers to any of your fans, then I'm gonna get my dog Kylo, and you're not gonna like what happens next. Well, maybe you will. I mean, he is kind of cute. But we're gonna think of something very threatening. This week's puzzle is Shadow from Happy Endings attacking Not Jordan of War Thieves. Shadow has decided to bring a variation on the old Lavalunion comp to the fight this time. Okay, now let's take a look at the first major volley. Okay, pause it here. We'll give you guys at home a few more seconds to consider how well you think this attack is going to turn out for Shadow. Now remember, you'll have to tune in next week to see those results. Now let's turn our attention to Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, where we saw some similar standing shakeups to what we saw in NA. We'll start by taking a look at Aphelion, who rose from 11th place after week 1 to 3rd place after week 2. They had some impressive wins, including this one over Kurd region, who we highlighted last week. Eyewitness opened up with an unusual play, securing the quick town hall with sneaky goblins and an invis spell. Then he accelerated from 1 to 100, dropping a king, an archer queen, a log launcher, and a grand warden. The troops tore through War's defenses with sheer brute force. And although it didn't do too much in terms of percent, it opened up the base for faster attacks. Following the sweep from left to right came the Dragon Riders. Minions and bats came in for the easy cleanup as Eyewitness scored the first triple of the war, setting his team up for an easier time in later attacks. They wound up winning the match and scoring a ton of points in the process. And Aphelion wasn't done there. They also squared off against Activity Axio, who have been solid contenders in both splits of Season 1. After this strong entry with a Raged Queen Charge combo, Majoka continued the aggression with a Grand Warden Hog Rider combo alongside a King in the south. These 3 hero units swept the entire base, eventually cleaning up for the 3-star and leading Aphelion to another big win. With all the teams' rankings changing constantly, we wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the steadfast consistency that Acceptance has shown week in and week out. They've ended both weeks in exactly 5th place on the back of solid plays like these. Anu went bowling into Carlo's base with an entourage of bowlers, a log launcher, healers, a queen, and a Grand Warden. These troops laid down heavy damage in the south. But the south side was the easy part of Carlo's defenses because he decided to concentrate all his structures on protecting the town hall. Anu's troops started to come under heavy fire, but a clutch cloak on the queen ensured maximum use of her ability while the healers got her back up to full health. All the while, the king kept charging in from the west and met up with the main squad for the easy cleanup. Later in the week, Acceptance faced off with Time to Throw, whose name was Time to Plague last season. After a successful breach of the West by Zynex, the King, Grand Warden, and Royal Champion made their way northward, while the Archer Queen, with multiple healers and a rage spell, stood unwavering in front of the Town Hall, taking it down and securing a 2-star simultaneously from both sides. With mostly collectors and storage left, the balloons came in to clean up, and that was it. A 3-star victory for Acceptance over Time to Throw. Speaking of Time to Throw, they took on Kurd region, and Kristoff led the charge with a strong start. A quick free spell onto the Town Hall secured a star, followed by a 2nd star from 50% damage. Although the Grand Warden did get knocked out during the siege, most of the main defenses were down, so it was just cleanup time from there. Several satisfying swings from the King secures Time to Throw their 3-star victory. Later in the week, they faced off with Repotted Gaming, and iPro took the offensive siege to the skies, crowding it with a battle blimp of balloons, more balloons, dragons, dragon riders, and a Grand Warden. iPro's air units and his king did get thinned out shortly thereafter, but that wasn't the end of it, as a bat spell from the north made quick work of the remaining defenses that couldn't deal with multiple targets. From there, it was a cleanup featuring a Grand Warden and a Royal Champion. Time to Throw Split 2 is looking oddly reminiscent of their Split 1, where they started off dominantly, but then fell completely off. This time around, they started in 2nd and now have slid down to 6th. We'll see if they can correct the course this time around and hopefully prove that their name is not an omen. Overall, Ladder 2 is shaping up to be yet another exciting one, with the top few starting to solidify their place, especially Strut, while the bottom half is an all-out brawl to see who qualifies for the next Open Finals. The teams have only 1 week left to secure their spots in the Split 2 Open Finals, where 3 more challenge invites await them. Who will take them? You'll have to tune in next week to find out. We'll see you then.